Welcome to another episode of Banking on Education. Today's special guest, Jose Guerrero. And this may blow some people's minds, but he is actually one of our mortgage originators, but he's in Dallas. Many of you might not know that, but during COVID, we expanded our field of membership to include all Texas school employees. So it's amazing that it kind of worked out. Tell us how that whole thing came about, because we even have a mortgage office up there where people can visit with you.
Yeah, so I've I'll kind of start at the beginning, if that's okay with you.
Oh, absolutely.
So at the time, before I started working here, I was working with a credit union out of Wichita Falls, Union Square Credit Union. So the remote aspect of it isn't unfamiliar. But Matt had reached out and said, hey, we're looking to expand. We're wanting to come into the DFW and start serving teachers in that area. And he reached out to me, and that was something that I thought I'd really like to do. Education has always been a big part of my life, just because I always tell people my middle school tag teacher really had a big impact on the trajectory of my life, right? So had an opportunity to get in here and be able to serve educators through the biggest purchase of their life. That was something that I really want to take advantage of. So he set up that meeting. I came down, I met you, I met Eric, went through an interview, and it just ended up working out. We've opened up a mortgage office in Bedford, which is a suburb of the Fort Worth area. Mm-hmm. We call it the mid-cities, right? Because it's right in the middle of Fort Worth and Dallas proper. So it's a nice little area. It's in the HEB school district, and we've just been rocking and rolling since then. That was 2 years ago now.
Wow, it's been that long. Special thank you to Gulf Coast Educators Insurance Services for sponsoring the Banking on Education podcast. I have my homeowners insurance through them. I encourage you to do the same. We have a full line of products, from homeowners to auto to motorcycle and even personal liability insurance. Visit insurance.gcfcu.org to learn more and get a quote about this teacher and how they changed the trajectory of your life.
Yeah, so I am a Dallas native. I grew up in Dallas, and the majority of my childhood, all of my childhood, was spent in the North Dallas area. If you're from Dallas, you'll know the Webb Chapel, Harry Hines area very well. And I wouldn't necessarily call it a high-income area. And so a lot of the people that I was hanging around with at the time, or a lot of us coming up, childhood friends, we didn't have a lot of opportunities to make good decisions, right? Well, take that for what it's worth. And so a lot of the kids that I grew up with either ended up dead or in jail or just not in a very good place, all before the age of 18. So when I was in 7th grade, I was 13, going on 14 at the time. I met my tag teacher. I was in talented and gifted program. They called it tag at that point. I think they call it something different now. But she saw something in me, and she plucked me out of the group and just kind of mentored me through my 7th and 8th grade grades, and was really able to take me out of a bad situation. Just, I would say, mentally more than anything. My parents were having marital issues at home. My friends weren't really going down the best path. I was making some questionable decisions myself. And so she got me to apply to these private schools, Green Hill, Episcopal School of Dallas, St. Mark's School of Dallas, which is an all-boys private school. And so I had to write essays. I filled an application, went on interviews, and I got accepted into all of them and was granted a full scholarship to all of these schools. Eventually, though, I would not take any of these scholarships up. My parents at the time decided it wasn't the best time to make that investment. And so I ended up moving away from Dallas and went to go live with one of my aunts in Wiley, Texas, which is, at that time, it was a very rural area, just outside of Plano, about 30 minutes. Now it's very populated. But yes, so her just saying, hey, I think you could do something special with your life, kind of took me out of that trajectory where I was going, and say, okay, hey, I've experienced some of these other things. You go from a very low rated middle school in the middle of DISD where, a kid was just killed there. We've had helicopters flying over. We've had police chases, and you go into some of these situations where I mean, these are high dollar schools, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people pay a year's worth of salary to have their kids attend there.
Yeah.
And it kind of opens up your horizons. You're like, okay, well, hey, there's more, there's other doors we can open with more than what we've had. And so that's something I kind of kept with me. And when you look back and you think of a cornerstone moment, that was it for me. And so she was able to do that for me. And so now that I can pour into those who pour into others, that's a powerful thing.
I always say education is the great social escalator.
Yeah.
And my dad actually, it transcends generations, right? It's because your kids are going to be better off for that teacher having
Sure.
So my dad grew up in a really poor part of Scotland. And he had this teacher that kept coming by the house and said, hey, you need to send him to university. This kid is smart. He needs to go to college. My grandparents didn't think they could make it happen. This teacher, just persisted, kept coming back, kept saying it. Finally, they figured out a way to make it happen. And, he became an engineer, and we emigrated over to America. And I've that moment didn't just change my dad's life. It changed, the generations to come. And so that's the great thing about an inspiring teacher, being able to do that for somebody and literally change, like you said, the trajectory, but not just of that one person, basically generations to follow. So that's a great story. I'm glad you shared that with us. You're very familiar with Dallas.
Yes.
Tell me what's going on up there in the housing market.
Well, I'd be lying to you if people weren't worried right now about what's going on, but I don't think Dallas is specifically special. We've seen some price stagnation over the last year. We've seen some price drops in available inventory. But to me, it's not as bad as it seems. And I don't say that necessarily as just, hey, I want to do a loan for you. I mean, that in just a general sense, we have recency bias, right? And so the reason I bring that up is a lot of the sellers that are listing houses, they're still overpriced. So it's like, yeah, we're experiencing some price corrections here, but it doesn't matter if a price drops 10% if they overpriced it 15% to begin with, yeah. Right? So there's a little bit of FUD, which is fear, uncertainty, doubt in the real estate market, kind of like what we're seeing across the nation. But overall, I think it's still a pretty strong market. I think we've got a bit of insulation there. We've got companies coming in. And so it also depends on what price range you're looking at, right? Mm-hmm. We've got areas like Colleyville, Frisco, some higher dollar areas where things are still very hot and you're receiving multiple offers on things that are on the market. And then you've got other areas that have slowed down that may have houses between 200,000 to 400,000. That is also very good for someone who's out shopping right now to take advantage of. So I think there are opportunities at every sector. You just have to have a really good team to help coach you through what you're looking at, understands the market, and just be able to manage that riffraff that is the real estate market right now. Other than that, a lot of growth, right? So,
yeah, it's funny you bring up growth, because if I look at a list of all of our fast growth schools in the state, a big portion of those are in that Dallas area. Talk about like the hot spots, the hot zones where you're seeing just this amazing quick expansion.
Yeah. Well, Northwest ISD is now they're in the DFW area. They're north of Fort Worth. Northwest ISD is one of the big ones. They're building a lot of homes off 287, which is going into Decatur from Fort Worth. That Alliance area is growing rapidly. When it comes to Dallas specifically, anything going north is just booming. There's a revitalization of neighborhoods that's in West Dallas, South Dallas. So there's a lot of activity that is coming up. And if you look closely, I think the entire city of Dallas and Fort Worth has activity going on. It just depends on what specifically you're looking for.
Yeah.
As far as school districts go, the Aledo ISD area, which is also west of Fort Worth, is growing like crazy. I know there's Princeton that is just outside of Plano. Maybe about a 40-minute drive that I've seen large growth. Farmersville, a lot of rural areas are benefiting from the action going on in DFW.
Yeah, and you and I went to the Region 10 Teacher of the Year award, and it was amazing to me to see how many school districts are in that region.
Yeah, it's big. It's big.
Yeah, there's just a ton of activity up there.
Yeah, and a lot of good things going on. I think just looking back, I graduated in 2010, right? And just looking back at where just education as a whole has come from, being able to step into what elementary schools look like in 2025, what curriculum looks like, the amount of technology that kids have access to is completely different. And, you speak about the conference, the Frisco ISD, they're always just implementing new techniques and at the forefront of making sure that there's change.
There's a lot of good school districts up in that area. There really are a lot of high quality school districts.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
good to see. It bodes well for public education for sure.
I agree.
So we've already established you're a one-man show when it comes to basically representing us in the Dallas area, the DFW area. How do you cope with being that far removed from basically the hub of where our business is?
Yeah. Well, I know you say one man show, but it's there's always this phrase that always rings true to where I stand right now or how I feel. It's like we're standing on the shoulders of giants, right? And so the processing team that we've got here, the underwriting team, the management team, everything is in-house. So even though I'm not physically here, everyone is very accessible, right? To whereas just from a mortgage standard, where you may be dealing with a bank or a larger mortgage production company, there may be multiple levels of communication that you may need to go through in order to get an answer. It's not like that here. And so it makes it easy to feel part of the team when I can just call somebody and say, hey, I need an answer to this. And I know they're going to be able to hop in the file right away. Or whenever we run into a problem and we're able to meet it head on because we've got a great team of processors and closers that are, they're going to jump on that problem and be able to walk over and talk to an underwriter or talk to a manager and be able to problem solve right on the spot.
Yeah. So at this organization, we pride ourselves on member service, right? And it sounds like our mortgage team, with it all being in-house, they provide excellent member service to their team members. Yeah. And so that probably bridges that gap a little bit for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's good to feel supported. It's even better to feel empowered. And I think that's something that we've been really good at, especially in a new market and going out and capturing new business and trying to make an impact. I definitely feel empowered. And that to me makes me feel better than anything else. However, we do meet weekly. We're able to meet via Zoom call, and so we've got the video going. It isn't a 1-for-1 as an in-person meeting, but the vibes are still there, and it helps pull you in and say, okay, hey, these are the people that I'm working with, and it's good to see their faces.
Yeah, no, and it's good for you to come in person every now and then and get to see everybody, and I think it reminds everybody how much we've grown as an organization. Yeah, having an office in the Dallas area, it's, we wouldn't have, I couldn't have predicted that just a few years ago. So it's great to see that we've committed to that, and we've committed to having somebody like you there that's going to help grow our brand. Yeah.
And I'm like I said, I'm honored to do so. And the more I get involved in school events, and I'm actually, to go out there and rub elbows with those who are doing the hard work, it's invigorating. It really is. They say it takes an educator 6 times as long, say, for a down payment as anybody else. And so the fact that we're able to go in there and give them access to home ownership is really cool.
Yeah, and that's the whole reason we created that special mortgage program, the educator mortgage, was we really wanted to, like you said, empower educators to live in the communities where they teach. And I think that's important. And it's a great retention tool for the districts where they work. But it's important they become part of the community.
Yeah, and community is a big factor on it. I think when you initially bring it up, the idea of running into your teacher at the grocery store is probably not welcome by both parties, but it is something that's really cool, right? I mean, you get to meet parents. Who's working with your kids all the time. So that's something that we're able to do to help everybody out. I mean, everybody benefits: the school district, the educators, the students. The parents of the students.
Well, Jose, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it, and love the work you're doing up in the DFW area. I'm glad you're on our team, and stay tuned for more episodes of Banking on Education.